Hello and welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes of the World. I'm Graham Hughes, and this is the world. I'm in Liverpool. That's all the reason why I was a bit late getting started, because it's all a bit discombobulating being in a different place to start the show. No technical problems this morning. Everything worked wonderfully well. Thank you for once, OBS, for working. I think. I hope this is going out. I hope you can see me. I hope you can hear me. If so, Bonza. Like I say, I'm Graham Hughes. I see my animation saying my name. There he goes. There it is. Look, it says. It still says Politics Social. Look at that. Oh, that needs updating, doesn't it? Ooh, okay. Well, I need to put that down on my list of things to do. Hello, everyone in the chat. Sorry it took me so long to get started this morning. We've had some trials and tribulations, haven't we, Mum? Trials, yeah, tribulations. So I'm in Liverpool for a few days, come to see me mum and dad. You all right, Dad? Yeah, he's all right. He's over there. He's having a nice time, I think. Who have we got in the chat? We've got Leap Shin in the chat, saying it most likely be 11:15. Well, maybe. More technical difficulties. No, it wasn't technical difficulties. It was other things that had to be done before I could get started. But they're done now, so here I am. Hurrah! What have we got? Harry Flashman saying morning all. Oh, that's very nice of you. Hello, Harry. Harry. Who else have we got? Plum in the chat. It was nice to have Plum in the chat. Nice to have our plums, hold your plums. If you'd like to join our friends in the lovely, beautiful chat, just hit the subscribe button. If you're watching this live, hit subscribe and wait for approximately one of your Earth minutes, and you should be able to join in with the crew, with the Hughes of the World crew. Yeah, the socialites. Woo! I'm looking very contrasty this morning. I'm looking very high contrast. I realise that, but that's okay. It's fine. It's better than using the actual stupid camera that I have on this stupid laptop, which is really, really crap. It's like a really expensive laptop with a really crap camera. I think I should have gone for a cheap laptop with a really good camera. But that's another story. Hello, everyone. We've got the government petition, review anti-discrimination laws to strengthen trans and LGBTQ protections, Q+ protections. That's from L. I'm gonna pin that. I'm gonna pin that to the chat. So if anyone wants to, while they're watching the show, and they're watching on a laptop or something, you can go to another page. You just have a look at that. Pinned it down the bottom there. Bit sleepy today, says Veg Pie. I'm sorry you're sleepy. That's no good, is it? We need to wake Veg Pie up. So let's wake Veg Pie up with the news that we're all gonna die. Actually, we're not. Well, we will all eventually. That is the one fortune that I can tell. Although it's not very fortuitous for anyone. But no, the big thing is England is massively in a drought right now. Last week we talked about the fact that the amount of water that came from the sky in July was just 1% of the usual average for July. The average, not the maximum, just the average, 1%. And England overall has only received 7% of its average July rainfall. Southern England, like I say, 1%. 4 record-breaking heat waves since May. Half of England is officially in drought. 23 million people face hosepipe bans, but not golf courses. Not golf courses. Golf courses can continue to water the lawn, but you can't. That's something that they've put in. They've said that, and there's nothing you can do about it. Sorry, my laptop is sitting on top of a printer. I just hit the printer with my cup of coffee. Who else have we got in the chat? We've got Stories. Hello. We've got Townsend. Ooh, we've got Band of Hard Japs. We've got Andrew Ray, Graham Price in there as well. All right, Graham Price. I'm in Liverpool. I was in, what's the place called? Constellations, is it? Constellations in town? On Constant Street? Is that what it's called? I can't remember, something like that. Behind old TJ's, which is getting knocked down at the moment. Well, they're taking out the insides and putting the new insides in, but leaving the exterior of TJ Hughes's. No relation. Anyway, so, yeah, farmers are reporting failing crops, depleted irrigation systems, possible food shortages on the horizon. Meanwhile, Refuck wants to end net zero targets. It wants to end renewable subsidies, so they want to stop people getting a subsidy for putting solar panels on the roof, or getting not an air fryer. What are those things that people have in the garden? The heat pump. Getting a heat pump. They want to expand fracking. Good news for people living in places like, I don't know, Blackpool. Maybe they don't like their water being, crystal clear and see-through. Maybe they'll prefer it if it was a bit brackish, bit of brown, bit of red, bit of iron oxide in your drinking water. I can't wait for Refuck to be in charge. They're gonna not make a fucking absolute pig's bloody arse of it, are they? Hey. A granny depth store. TJ's granny depth store. I love that. I don't water our lawn. It means I don't have to cut it, as it's not growing at the moment. Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? Well, here's the thing, right? There was an interview last week with Kemi Badenoch, who apparently is the leader of the Conservative Party, and she was saying that she doesn't deny climate change, but she doesn't agree with net zero, which was her party's policy while she was in the party for years and years and years, was going towards net zero. Because even the soulless, heartless, mean-spirited, egotistical, selfish bastards in the Tory party could see the writing on the wall. And the writing says, world get hot, world become uninhabitable, we need to basically sort that out. And the Tories have abandoned their commitment to reach net zero by 2050. I saw something, this is connected, sort of, but this is the way people are just taken in by this bullshit. Someone posted on Facebook the other day, this Theuta place in North Africa, which I've been to a couple of times, actually. Got the ferry. There's a ferry that goes from Andalusia in Spain over to Theuta, and they said, Spain has sent all these immigrants back, flooded the country, they sent them all back. Why can't we do that? And I'm like, I know that is someone who voted for Brexit. And I'm like, because of Brexit, you idiot. Like, we used to be able to do that. That's why there were no boats before Brexit. But I think people find it hard to put like 2 and 2 together and make 4. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I'd use golf courses to build houses on, 500,000 acres to serve the rich few. Well, I mean, we don't need to. This is the reality. I mean, yeah, I would as well, just to be, stick one to them. But we don't need to. The big problem we've got in the UK at the moment is we have this thing called the Green Belt, which is some bullshit made up by the right wing to keep the villagers looking like villagers, right? But what the upshot is it means you can't build any more villages. And the planning people know this, the house builders know this. They can't build anything outside the Greenbelt. So what they've done over the last 50 years is they've gobbled up all the land that might be good for building on brownfield sites, in cities, not on the Greenbelt, right? And there's nowhere left to build because they won't build on those sites because they're worth more to just keep them waiting until the price goes up, and then someone, maybe it's government, maybe it's the council, maybe it's another developer, buys the land off them for a much more exaggerated price than they paid for it in the first place. And they reckon there's space for 1.5 million houses just on land owned by property developers that they aren't developing. Now, I would put a punitive tax on doing that. Like, if you use it or lose it, I would totally have use it or lose it rules on second homes, on bits of land, on derelict housing, on derelict anything, derelict buildings in general. Use it or lose it. If we trace whoever owns this building and it's just fallen into rack and ruin, we take it back off them. They've got 6 months to fix it up, and if they don't do it within that 6-month window, then that's it. We take it off you. And I don't even mean compulsory purchase. I mean, we take it off you. Use it or lose it. Simple as that. I think we really... It really annoys me the way a lot of governments over the years have been very much kind of like more carrot than stick. More stick than carrot for us, for like normal people, Whereas for the big developers, for the big money people, it's always about incentives, isn't it? For them, it's always about subsidies and all this kind of stuff. The rest of us, it's like miss one appointment and that's it. You don't get any money, you can die. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, big issues there. Just to go back to something I just said, because I just want to clarify something. When I say the green belt is stupid, right? I agree that green areas should be protected. And there is a way of doing that. The reason why I say greenbelt is stupid is the way that we go about protecting the greenbelt. It means we cannot build new villages with a nice little pub and a nice little cafe and a nice little church and a nice little synagogue and a mosque and a town hall and whatever they have in villages. I don't know, the war memorial. Far too many war memorials. We don't have, like, you can't build a village because any village, all right, Dad, any village would necessarily be, on the greenbelt. Similarly, you can't move a village, right? Villages are small enough that we do have the technology to literally move a village a little bit out the way, especially if those villages end up on a main road, for instance, that cars go through all the time. And instead of building a bypass, you could build somewhere else and make it, a bit off the beaten track, so you don't have cars plowing through and dickheads on motorbikes making far too much noise. But here's the thing, right? Not only can you not build any more villages, you're never going to see a new village, and you might get a new town in a special area that they've designated or whatever. You're not going to get a new village, but you will see motorway junctions, which are bigger than villages. Like, you'll get motorway junctions where two motorways meet. They take up hundreds of acres of space, a completely uninhabitable space. It's absolute man, the roads swirling around each other. You look down at it from you get your typical motorway junction, and then you transpose it at the same scale onto the city centre of a city in this country, at Manchester, Liverpool, and you'll see just how big these motorway junctions are. And they're on green space. They're on Greenland. The protected green spaces. But you can have a motorway. That's fine. Cars. People, fuck off. And this is why I think this the greenbelt mantra it was invented by the far right to just ensure that the people who own property, the people who own land, the rich landed elites from, dating their ancestry back to 1066 when they invaded our country, they don't want that to change. They want to keep their, massive estates. They don't want people making villages and towns and stuff. But the other problem that we have is because now, okay, so we want to have a new village. And the way villages used to grow back in the day is there'll be a river, or there'll be a quarry, there'll be a mine, there'll be somewhere to go and work. And then people would go there to work, and then the village would grow. And it would become a town, and then eventually it might become a city. Like Liverpool started as a village, right? A little fishing village, right? But you don't have that anymore. You don't have that organic growth. And so when we do get new towns, we get places like Runcorn, which is a shithole. I mean, sorry to people who live in Runcorn, but it's a shithole. Like, Shopping City in Runcorn is the most depressing edifice in the world. And I've seen a lot of unedifying edifices. And then you've got somewhere like Milton Keynes, which is just like the place where human vitality, where the soul of humanity just goes to die. And you go somewhere like Brasilia, you go somewhere in Brazil, you go to Canberra in Australia, and these are manufactured towns that have been built on a grand plan, and then they've forgotten to put people in them, and they feel really soulless and empty and, from my point of view, diabolical. But and this is an upshot of the green belt, having this idea that you have to have this green belt that that can't be touched in any way to build a new village or start a new village. But if you want to build a big bastard motorway or a motorway relief road, a toll motorway, then sure, blast your way through the green belt. It's funny that, isn't it? I mean, I'm not saying that the green areas shouldn't be protected. I think they bloody well should, but there's a better way of doing it. There is definitely a better way of doing it. I gave up on Twitter 18 months ago. I gave up on Twitter ages ago as well. It's bloody bollocks, isn't it? It's bad for your mental health. I wouldn't recommend. Greenbelt, for fuck's sake, all while leaving our moors to turn into veritable deserts and our forests dwindle and die. Yeah, yeah. it's the Greenbelt is there to protect the vested interests of house owners and house builders, because you can't build more places. Because it's like, no, you can't do it there. It's a green belt. And you're like, okay, well, we'll build them in the cities then. We'll build them in the towns. No, you can't do that because it's owned by somebody else. Some property owners bought it all. There's nowhere to build these new houses unless we build on the green belt. And then you get all the tabloid papers going, oh my God, you're clutching the pearls. We care so much about the green belt, not the green belt. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Shortly after Cameron became MP, he proclaimed how extreme weather was a once-in-a-generation event. Here we have successive droughts and record temperatures. This is the least bad it'll get. Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's, this is the warmest year on record until next year. Next year is going to be a massive. Next year is going to be make this year look like small potatoes. Get your air conditioning unit in. Start saving now, because next year you're going to have what we've had this year, but it's going to be exacerbated by the El Nino effect. Runcorn isn't all a shithole. So I knew someone would take issue with this, Graham. Just the new town part is. I know. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Shopping City is a waste of space, though. I think they wanted to destroy Shopping City. I think they wanted to knock it down, but the walls were built so thick it would take a literal nuclear bomb to get rid of that bastard thing, which I just find freaking hilarious. Hilarious and galarious. Okay, so yeah, just to go back onto this point about this duplicity when it comes to climate change. Oh yeah, we do believe it's happening. It's just that net zero is not the best way of dealing with it. No, it is absolutely the best way of dealing with it. And that other argument that dickheads use, like, what are China doing now? What are China doing? What happened to being world leading? Did we wait in 1939, September 1939, when Hitler invaded Poland? Did we go, oh no, we can't do anything. We've got to wait. We've got to wait to see what America's doing. We've got to wait to see what China is doing. No. We stood up for ourselves. We led the world. We led the fucking world. And we can do that with climate change. We can do that with net zero. We can lead the fucking world. And that's patriotism to me. That's what patriotism should be about, not fucking flags. Hey, listen, I was driving through Durham yesterday on the way here. Loads of flags up in Durham, loads of bloody twatty flags. Tatty flags, sorry. And twatty. And I've got a plan. I've got a brilliant plan. I don't know if I should say this on the internet, but I don't really have the resources to do this. Okay, so what we do is we buy a shit ton of England flags, right? And then we sell them for £1 each, right? So it's cheaper. We're gonna undercut Amazon, so people will buy flags off us, but we've treated them with a special ink that only shows up when they get wet. And it says on the flag, I'm so gay. Immigrants welcome here, but only when it rains. So they'll put up these flags going through the village. They'll put up all these flags going, oh yeah, England, and then it rains. And then they'll start crying because they'll see what the flags say. But because it's made of very flimsy material, by the time they get the ladder up to take them down, sorry, my dad's coughing in the background there. When they get the ladder to take them down, that they would have dried out because they're flapping in the wind, right? They would have dried out. And so another flag nonce will be going past in the car, going, don't you be taking those flags down, I'll kill you. No, you don't understand. It says I'm gay. Come on, let's do it. Has anyone got any money watching this? Does anyone have any money? I know we can't do goals anymore, but I can still do a super chat thing where, we make Boba Fetty turn up or Bim Fetty. Up to you. But unfortunately, yeah, I'm on my laptop at the moment and no, goals seem to have disappeared. Unless they've moved it somewhere. That's so annoying. I used goals all the time. Oh, hang on. No, they've moved it. I found it. They've moved it. You bastards. Why do you move things and then not tell me where you've moved them from? It used to be at the top of here, right? On my screen. It used to be at the top of that. Now I've got it here on the plus at the bottom of that. So yeah. Confetti. Oh, hang on. Keyboard's not working. That's really weird that my mouse is working, but my keyboard is not working. Confetti. Sorry, I can't do the little emojis. There you go. Look at that. Phew. I thought they got rid of the goals. Oh, it's not starting. It's not starting. The goal won't start. Oh, no. I was so excited. I thought we'd done it. I thought we'd cracked it. I thought we'd cracked the code. But we haven't. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Now I can't read. It's kind of hung. Oh, Jesus. This has gone horribly, horribly wrong. But what if it goes horribly right? Don't know what to do now. I'm a bit fuckaroonied. Oh, okay. Hang on. Right, so let's can we just refresh this? What's refresh? F5. Why am I pressing F5? Oh, do you know what it is? No, it's not that. Okay, if I press F5, is that going to refresh the thing? Okay, refreshed. Sorry, everyone. I'm just setting up the super chats. The super chat goal. Paste. Start goal. Yes! Yes! Your goal's live. Share it with your audience to get them excited. Yes! Get excited, peeps. How do you feel about my flag idea? Cannot stand the sight. A slight problem with my plan. There's no rain. Yes, I'll say it again. We must confiscate without compensation at all the land, at least 25% of England, stolen by the Normans in 1066. Oh, lovely. I want to hear my flag idea. Does anyone think it's a good idea? We just said there's no rain. Yeah, but that's the thing. They'll be up there for ages before it actually rains. And they'll be like, they're proud for the first month. And then it will rain. And maybe we'll just get a bit of drizzle. And then they'll see what the flag actually says. It says, I'm so gay. We're so gay. Welcome to the big gay village. What do you reckon? Drainy, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. You've now put the first of the 5 goals in there. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I'll get your little super chat animation up there for you. Lots of fun. You rushed it, Gray. What? I rushed what? What did I rush? What was I rushing? Oh, I thought it was a good idea, the flags. That was fucking Machiavellian, that. Be fucking brilliant, wouldn't it? Imagine that the news headlines about these flag shaggers just going nuts because all the flags say things that they didn't think they said, that are only revealed in the rain. Meanwhile, yeah, so, you know, reform-led councils have removed climate targets from, despite continuing to experience heat, drought, and wildfire risks. They're like, oh yeah, it's just normal weather. 1976. Renewable energy businesses warn that cancelling existing commitments would deter investments. It would threaten jobs. It would leave the government open to legal claims, because if the government said they're going to do something and a new government gets in and says, no, we're not, it opens you up to being sued by the companies that you've promised stuff to. Hence, Trump paying a French company not to build wind turbines. $800 million he gave this French company to not build wind turbines. Absolutely mind-blowing. You know, the greater reliance on oil and gas would leave Britain more exposed to international supply shocks. Even if we started work on the Jackdaw and Rosebank oil fields tomorrow, they wouldn't be online for about 10 years, you know. Like 2036, and it is literally a drop in the ocean. Crazy days. Meanwhile, we've got in East London, we've got mental health cuts, which is never a good idea, I don't think. East London NHS Foundation Trust plans nearly £25 million worth of savings. About 330 posts could disappear from its 6,000 strong workforce. Services affected will include child mental health, addiction treatment, talking therapies, and crisis care. A 20-bed intermediate care ward in East Ham is scheduled to close next month, and Unite is preparing to ballot its members for industrial action, which I think they should go ahead with. I really do. This is really, really bad. Like, we are living through a mental health crisis at the moment, and it's one of those things where you can do it on the cheap, which is giving people the care and the support that they need straight up, or you can wait till problems get so bad that terrible things happen and then clear up the mess and that is left behind. And that always costs more money. Always costs more money. A stitch in time and all that. Reality Billy, thank you very much. Or Realty. Thank you very much, Billy, for your £5 contribution to the Super Chat Fund. We are almost halfway there, which is wonderful. Powers of the People, Graham Price says, it was hot for a few weeks 50 years ago, so climate change is obviously fake. It's probably just the establishment trying to frighten us and preserve the uni party. Yeah. Might climate change affect skin cancer rates? Yeah, I mean, skin cancer rates have gone up in recent years anyway, but I don't think people kind of grasp the damage that the sun does to their skin. They really, I mean, just stop it. Just, especially if you're whiter than white, you're way more likely to get skin cancer if you go out into the sun or on sunbeds even. According to King Nigel, says Graham Price, according to fucking Nigel. Harrowing of the North pagan, nothing to do with me. Reminds me when Clarkson, May and Hammond drove through deep red states with cars decorated with messages like "I'm bi, I love Hillary, NASCAR sucks." Yeah, Colin. The flag thing, the flag idea. That'd be funny. The problem is, like, so many of those flags now are just, they've been up for a year and they're so tatty and torn and dirty and just, it's just horrible. There's horrible, filthy dish rags hanging up from this, and it's so sad. I was in Seaham at the weekend. Seaham is this little town on the edge of the Durham coast, right? It's on the Durham coast. And, it's clearly a geriocracy, like its own, it's ruled by old people. And you can tell because instead of spending the money on things that would really help the community, they spent a lot of money on lots and lots of war memorials, like poppies fucking everywhere. Huge emphasis on the war. There's a big statue of a sad looking man with his head down, dressed like a World War One soldier with his head down, looking sad. And then more recently, they've now got a massive head and massive metal head that sits outside a coffee shop or something by the roundabout, and it's a sad miner. It's a miner. He's with a miner's hat on. He's looking sad. You go everywhere, you just see sad things that they've spent shitloads of money on, thousands and thousands of pounds on these big sad sculptures of people looking sad because of the war, going to look sad because they had to work down a mine. They're going to look sad because their life was shit. Here, look at these people whose lives were shit. Oh, look how sad they look. Look at them. You're having fun, having an ice cream down by the seaside, you bastard. How dare you have a nice time down by the seaside having an ice cream when there's people who fucking died down a mine digging coal to fuel the Industrial Revolution of 100 years, 200 years ago. Yeah. You bastards. And I just, it's one of those places that got little flags up. They're absolutely, it's obviously the little council that they have there is just run by some fucking old fogies who are like bored out of their stupid little bonces. Sorry, not nonsense. Not saying they're all nonsense. They're bored out of their bonces. And they're like, oh, do you know what this town needs? It needs another sculpture of a sad man. A giant, oversized sculpture of a sad man. And you see this all over Durham. I've told you before, there's a village near me in Durham, and they literally have a massive boulder that I just thought was a boulder until one day I was walking past playing Pokemon or something, and I walked up to it, and it's got a little plaque, and it's actually a sculpture, a giant, like 20-foot sculpture of a piece of coal. To remind people there used to be coal mines there. Yeah. Everyone around here used to be really miserable, working down the mine, getting black lung and dying at the age of 40, but, sacrificed up to the carbon gods. So that Tory MPs, like Lord Londonderry, could make shitloads of money. Yeah, just a fantastic amount of money. And then spend it on his massive country pile in Northern Ireland, which is now part of the National Trust, that you can go and see the opulence in which he lived off the back of getting children from Durham to work down his mines. Big statue of him in the middle of Durham, on a horseback with a fucking feather in his hair like a big twat. Yeah, no one ever thinks about pulling that down. And the guy who killed loads of people in Durham, the guy who killed loads of kids in Durham, the guy who stood up in Parliament. It's Charles Weathervane or something his name is. And he stood up in Parliament and said, I know this new 19, it was the 1840s, yeah, it was 1840s, early 1840s. He stood up and said, no, we need to have children working down the mines because they're the only ones who can get through the small holes in the mines. When the government was trying to bring in regulations to stop 8-year-olds working down the mines, he stood up and made a speech. It's on Hansard saying that shouldn't happen. Lord Londonderry, everybody. He was also the guy who during the potato famine, or during the famine, actually, it wasn't just potatoes, but during the man-made famine in Northern Ireland, in the whole of Ireland, he famously gave about £2.50 to the relief fund, while literally spending millions, even back then, millions on his house in Northern Ireland. Look at the damage to all the cars, dashboards with the sun's UV rays during these heat waves. That's also happening to our skin with no protection, says Andrew Ray. It's very damaging. I was in CM 3 weeks ago. It was closed. It was closed. Well, it's because they were having a sad day, Simon. They were just sitting around looking sad about, the world. Hey, listen. Let's have some zen this morning. Let's have some good news this morning, right? So we haven't heard from Andrew Tate for a little while, a few days, for a couple of weeks or whatever. Finally heard from him yesterday, right? And what he was complaining about is just chef's kiss, right? So he's in jail. Right? And he can't be on social media and he can't do his weights or whatever the fuck he does, right? He was complaining that there were no nail clippers in jail. You heard that right. I'm not making this up. This is not bullshit. This is not fake news. This is Andrew Tate, the alpha male, complaining about the state of his manicure and his pedicure. I mean, you can say what you like about American prisons. They don't look after your nails, do they? I had to chew. I had to bite them with me. What the fuck? I can't clip my toenails because I might stab another prisoner with the sharp bits. Yeah. You can have those scissors that you used to have in primary school or infant school. The scissors with the rounded ends. Yeah, you can have them. Happy days. I had an ice cream on the seaside yesterday. Medieval quayside was with a sad woman, but she was fine by the time we went home. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I'm glad you cheered someone up. I just think it's really weird. Like you have a seaside town and it's all like, remember the war, remember mining. Remember the war and mining. Remember mining and the war. Remember men were dying, just dying in horrible, horrible ways. Remember that? Yeah. Enjoy your fish and chips. It's a fucking what? What is... Imagine going to like Disneyland and it's all just like, remember you will die. It's like you turn up and it's like sad Mickey. The first thing you see is sad Mickey. And there's a little plaque there saying, Mickey is sad because he watched all of his family being ripped apart by a cat. Cool. Could I go on the rides now? No. Why is Goofy sad? Because Goofy's sad because no one knows what he is. Pluto's a dog. Mickey's a mouse. Donald's a dog. What the fuck is Goofy? He's having an existential crisis. You're walking through Disneyland. It's like Goofy, like, about to take himself out. He's got like... Could you imagine? Could you freaking well imagine? I could imagine. a lot. Yeah, if you only have to look at Aberfan to see what damage Cole and the elite have done to the National Coal Board. The National Coal Board even tried to get the spoil cleaned by the money collection from for the families. Yeah, they did try and take the money collection from the families and use it to clean up the mess that they made. Absolutely fucking disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. And yeah, just the celebration of just human misery in certain parts of this country is just fucking weird to me. Like, let's celebrate like things that are going good. I'm trying to think. In Liverpool, I suppose we've got Eleanor Rigby, and that's a bit sad, but she's feeding the pigeons. She seems to be all right, along with the guy from Park Life, and there's the There's the Beatles down. There's Beatles statue down at the pier head. That's quite jolly. People like getting the photo taken with that. There's Johnny Walker looking out to sea with his binoculars and his bottle of Johnny Walker, presumably. And that's quite an inspiring statue. I mean, it's not sad. It's not someone with the head bowed going, "Oh my God, this is all awful." I'm just trying to think. Like, there is a memorial to the victims of the Liverpool Blitz, and that's a statue that's in the gardens of Saint Nick's. I think it's Saint Nick's, which is just by the Aliva building. And it's a small child on the top of a spiral staircase playing with a toy aeroplane, and his mum holding obviously his little sister in her arms, and she's reaching out to him. It's a really beautiful sculpture, and it's poignant, but not like you should be sad. It's just pointing out that this happened and going, yeah, but we get on with it. We get on with life. Life continues on. Don't let it get on top of you. But going to see him, I mean, they had a food and drink festival. It's quite nice. I mean, going along there. But these sculptures, like, every time we go, there's a new fucking sculpture to the war or to mining, and I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake. They've also got too much money. It's County Durham. It's one of the poorest fucking areas in the whole country. It's proper Billy Elliot land, and the fucking bonkers. Minnie Mouse said, "I didn't say I wanted to divorce Mickey because of his horrible teeth. It was because he was fucking goofy." Hey, ba-da-ba-da-ba-bum. Very good. I like it. Mr. Tisk, blind soldiers at Piccadilly. G, cheers up. Blind soldiers at Piccadilly. Yeah, is that the one where they've got their hands on each other's shoulders and they've got the bags around their eyes? Yeah, because Manchester's not depressing enough. Thanks very much, Mr. Tisk. Yeah, you tell about Manchester. It's just full of these grey, depressing buildings. It's raining all the time. Although I think it hasn't rained for a little while because we're in a drought. We're in a famine situation. But the first thing you see is you get off the train, it's just some sad soldiers who have been blinded by the... Jesus Christ. Who comes up with these ideas? Do you know what people need? More misery in their lives. Do you know what? It's the same fuckers who make bloody British movies about some woman who gets beaten to death by her husband. And you're like, why would someone pay £18 to go and sit on a reclining fucking chair with a massive big box of popcorn? Eating watching a story about a woman crying herself to death? Why? What is wrong with people in this country who seem to have money and think they have an artistic bent? And then the whole thing is like, I'm just going to make everyone really, really depressed because I'm depressed and everyone else needs to be. So there's people, you must know someone like this who, when they're in a bad mood, everyone has to be in a bad mood. Yeah? Yeah? Because something's gone wrong, and and everyone's got to be everyone's got to be sad. Everyone's got to be upset because they are. That's what we have. That's what we have. It's just these sad movies, sad songs. I blame Radiohead. Sorry, I get into trouble for saying that. But yeah, cheers. Blind soldiers in Piccadilly. And the obsession with World War One and World War Two is just, it's nuts. It's nuts. I hope this is the last hurrah, because obviously the people who are actually there are now no longer with us. But I don't think it is. I think it's just going to get more and more immortalized in people's imagination as being the most important thing that ever happened ever. We never really talk about the Boer War. We never talk about the Napoleonic Wars. We never talk about the 7-Year War. We don't really talk about them that much. We just, we got on with it. These people died. Okay, that's sad. Here's a memorial. But it wasn't like every year you had to go, hey, remember Napoleon? Remember when that Napoleon guy did that? Do you remember the Battle of Trafalgar? Do you remember that? Do you remember Waterloo? Do you remember Yeah. Refuse to define my Britishness through wars. Those old people banging on about the war never fought in the war. It was their parents. Their parents fought racism and now they embrace it. Yeah, true. When all early 60s X-certificate films like that, where the word bloody was the height of edginess. Well, the C-bomb was dropped in a show. Or was it Fuck? I think it was Fuck was dropped in a show called BBC Three. Back in the 1960s, there was the first broadcast of the word fuck on British TV, I think. And those old people banging on I've read that. Sorry, Kimberly. Didn't mean to infiltrate your thoughts. Oh, do. Please infiltrate away. So yeah. I also wanted to talk about Farage's financial scandals. So this undeclared gift of the 5 million from crypto investor Christopher Harborn, obviously still hanging over Farage, but also this thing about George Cottrell has come out this weekend. There was a Times investigation into this, and it showed that Cottrell transferred more than 2 million to his mum shortly before she made donations to Refuck and Tice's organisation, Tice being the leader of Refuck at the time. And then he put money from Business Mean Brexit, or whatever the fuck it was called, his company into Refuck. So Refuck has essentially got millions of pounds from an ineligible source, which is George Cottrell. He doesn't live in the UK. He's a criminal. He lives in Montenegro. You know, like the baddie from a James Bond movie. Casino Royale. So yeah, and also Richard Tice got this 80,000 loan from Cottrell, which I think I think they dropped the investigation into that, or was it the one in Genric's investigation's been dropped, hasn't it? But yeah, several transactions connected to reform figures have generated suspicious activity reports. This is probably one of the reasons why Farage couldn't get a Coots bank account, because he was just known to be a bit dodgy, and they didn't want these red flags going up everywhere and making Coots look like a Mickey Mouse bank, which it is. I mean, it is a Mickey Mouse bank because they allow someone as scumbaggish as Nigel Farage to bank with them. They said no originally, but then he rang up his friends in Fleet Street. Hello, it's Nigel. Oh, hello, Nigel. How's the cracker? Oh, still soggy. What do you want? What do you want to do? Tell us what to do, Nigel. Tell us what. Well, listen. Basically, this posh bank account. They say I can't have a posh bank account. Can only have a normal plebby bank account. Okay, we're going to make up a new term. What's the new term? Debanked. I've been debanked. You've been debanked. Okay. Can you not get a bank account with anyone now? No, I can get a bank account with pretty much every other bank that exists, except for this one, who said they don't want me as a customer. How disgraceful is that? How can someone not want me as a customer? 5 days. 5 days of fucking headlines in our newspapers. This is how mad our world is. 5 days of headlines because this cunt couldn't get a fucking bank account. And then people out there going, he's one of us. He's one of us, old Nige. He's one of us. Yeah. I was forever transferring millions to my old mum back in the day, says Mr. Tisk. Yeah. My dad fought at the end of World War II. Wonderful guy and so open-minded. Back home from Liverpool, met some lovely people in Manchester, but you wouldn't go there for a week. Listen, I lived in Manchester for many years, so I have a creeping fondness for the place. In the same way that I have like a fondness for, you know, a terrible place where the sun never shines and the people speak funny. Oh, there was a video. I should have dug this out to show you. There was a video that was on the Liverpool Echo page yesterday, and it was these Mancs who were pretending to be Scouse while they robbed a shop. And then they got caught, and they were wearing Manchester United tops. And when they got caught by the police, they were obviously from Manchester. And they were like, hey, go past that thing over. We've got to get back to Liverpool. Yeah, we're going to go to Liverpool. I shouldn't laugh. It was an armed robbery. It was pretty serious, but still. How can they be expected to run a company if they get caught doing criminal enterprises? Well, exactly. You know. Bill Grundy goaded the Sex Pistols. He did. And then he lost his job. And the Sex Pistols went to number 1. Let that be a lesson to you. Torbay was a pirate's retreat from the English Channel. It was. Privateers, though. There's a difference between pirates and privateers, isn't it? You got a letter of Mark. Is it a letter of Mark from Mark? You got a letter off Mark, the King Mark. And if you have a letter of Mark, then you're not a pirate. You're a privateer, a buccaneer. No swash left unbuckled. Someone just left the house. So yeah, Farage is facing this Parliamentary Standards Commissioner, but like these new revelations that come out this weekend, I don't know. I've had my fingers burnt far too many times, getting my hopes up about Trump going to jail and getting kicked out of politics forever. And you know, after the referendum, I mean, one of the little bits of light on the edge of the big storm cloud that was Brexit was the the fact that Cameron was out of politics, and Boris Johnson didn't run for leader of the Tory party. It looked like Farage had just given up politics. He just walked away from it. Going, right, job's done. I'm going to walk off now. But he didn't. He came back. He came back like an evil skid mark. I think we should ban Marks and Jerry's. Marks and Jerry's? Are they like Marks and Spencer's or Ben and Jerry's? I lived in West Didsbury as a trainee with Data One in the 90s. It was great fun. I had mice, says Kimberly. Yes, I assume you would have mice living in West Didsbury. I lived in Fallowfield. Well, I lived in Whitwell Park the first year I was in uni in 97, 98. And then 98, 99 I lived in Fallowfield. And then for the next year and a half after that, I lived in Bernage, just by the Kingsway pub. That was cool. Auckland Road, I think it was. It was on Auckland Road, and then I moved around the corner. Once we'd sort of graduated, I hung around Manchester for a few months after I graduated before coming back to Liverpool. And living here for 7 years. 7 years was it? Lived in Liverpool. Well, I suppose a few years of that I was travelling, but then I literally left and went travelling around the world. Within a year of getting back, I lived in London for a bit, and then I was living in Liverpool, and I was living in Manchester, lived in Levy, and then I went off to live in Panama, so I lived in Panama for 3 years. Then I came back here. I was only here for, God, it wouldn't have even been a year. It would have been about 6 months, if that, maybe 5 months or something, and then got with Kat and moved to Durham. So yeah, I've not spent as much time in Liverpool as I would have liked. But hopefully at some point that'll change. So where are we? So we have Iran denying Trump's claim of talk. So Trump has said US-Iran negotiations will begin today. Iran's foreign ministry. By the way, it's Monday the 3rd of August 2026. I normally lead with that, but I forgot. So I just thought I'd mention it 46 minutes into the show. Apparently today... Monday, the 3rd of August, 2026. The new negotiations between US and Iran were supposed to start, but Iran's just gone. No, they aren't. Fucking hell. I mean, it's almost as though the people in charge of America are dickheads. Almost. What else have we got? Levy, the only station in GM with name in both Irish and Arabic script too. That's kind of cool. I used to know the people who ran Levy Market. You know Levy Market? That was cool, wasn't it? I don't know if it's still going. Marks for condoning state centre piracy. Jerry's for building all those miserable statues. Oh yeah, the gerrymanderers, the geriatric manderers, the geriatric manderizocracy. Those bloody Jerrys and their mandering and their atrics. How bloody dare they? Jerry. Total Jerry. Sorry to anyone watching this called Jerry. Anyway, so by the way, Iran has said that it's discussing a temporary safe route through the Strait of Hormuz with Iran, not with America. But they've also said that that alone is not going to reopen the strait. Nacho, not a chance Hormuz opens. Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine have exchanged deadly strikes. Ukrainian drone attacks killed at least 9 people in Russia. A wild berries warehouse in Russia's Samara region was struck. So it's the third that I know of. I'm sure there's more of it. So wild berries is essentially the Amazon of Russia. And so they have these huge warehouses full of stuff that people like to buy. And what the Ukrainians are doing by striking these warehouses, which ostensibly are a commercial operation, but there are parts that they're selling that could be used in war, for instance. So they have some kind of justification, but the main reason they're doing it, not the justification, but the reason they're doing it is because they want this war to affect your everyday Russians, right? At the moment, well, for many years, as the war raged on, it seemed like the war was separate to the everyday life of everyday Russians, you know. That's not a term, is it? The everyday life of most Russians, right? It was someone else's war. It was Putin's war. It was happening somewhere else. It wasn't affecting them. It wasn't changing the way they do things. It wasn't changing their way of life in any way, really. But now you're seeing, with wild berries, warehouses going up, so people have bought stuff off their Amazon and it's not turned up, so they're really feeling the war that way. There's massive queues for people waiting for fuel. It's affecting people that way. There's fights breaking out at fuel stations because there's not enough fuel to go around. That is obviously making people in Russia go, what is happening? It's actually affecting people. And one of the mad things about this particular warehouse, this wild berries warehouse that went up, and Russia attacked Ukraine last night, and then 5 people have died. But this Samara target, right? It's about 800 kilometers from Russia, from the front lines. 800 kilometers away, and this is showing not just that Ukraine has the capability to upset everyday life in Russia. And let's not try and be nice about this, because Russia has upset everyday life in Ukraine for the last 12 years since they first invaded Crimea in 2014. And obviously the situation's got worse and worse, especially for people who lived in Mariupol, who were kicked out of their own city. They had their children kidnapped to be abused by Russians in Russia. Thousands of children, we don't know where they are, we don't know what's happening to them. But we can imagine it's probably something horrible, because, Russia doesn't have a good track record in things like that, But yeah, it's the main thing that Ukraine is trying to do is say to Russia, look, the Russian people, look, this is all Putin's fault. Get rid of Putin, stop this war, and your life can go back to normal. Because when that happens, obviously the life for Ukrainians can go back to normal as well. Mark says, looks like NATO may put a no-fly zone over part of Ukraine near Poland because a Russian ICBM landed in Poland, and although it caused no injuries, yeah, but it could have done. That's the thing. And it being an intercontinental ballistic missile, it could have had a nuclear warhead on it. If they still had any nukes. Hi, Mum. How's it going?
Fine, thank you.
Oh, good. My mum says fine. My mum says morning, everyone. Morning. Recount bin face ban, home under the hammer, and second home portfolios, says we'll count bin face buy homes under the hammer. I hope he does. I hate that show. That made me a communist, that show. Under number 10, a Downing Street, London, and SE home counties officially part of Greater Manchester. Man U fans are in raptures. Yeah, but Man U isn't really in Manchester. It's more Salford. I call them Salford United. It's in Salford, isn't it? Trafford. Is Trafford in Salford? Don't know. Too long didn't read. Just put a video saying why Andy Burnham's more right wing than you think. By the way, that should be interesting to watch in a bit. Too long didn't read. Just put up a video saying. So I thought you'd say you put up a video. No, he is. He absolutely is. But he's being canny about it, and he's making sure that left wingers in Labour, in the Labour Party, are being brought into the fold. He's brought members of the Socialist Alliance of Labour into positions like PPS positions, private parliamentary secretary, principal parliamentary secretary. I don't know what PPS stands for, whatever the fuck it stands for. It's basically the person who assists a minister or secretary of state, and he's also brought Diane Abbott back into the fold as well. So he's being quite canny about it, but he is quite right wing. I mean, he look at what he did in Manchester. He did a lot of deals with companies to make buildings. A lot of those buildings that are built, you see them when you drive along. Well, I say drive. When you crawl along the Mancunian Way, you'll see a lot of these new buildings that are built, and a lot of them are empty because people buy them for they bought an apartment in them for an investment, and don't intend to live there at any point. Catching up, what we could all do with is explaining to the super rich morons that it'd be cheaper to pay taxes to sort climate change than to try and adapt before they have to. They have to adapt. Try and adapt before we have to adapt. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking of that, South Korea recorded a record of 42.5 degrees C, the country's highest recorded temperature in at least 122 years. Temperatures exceeded 40 degrees C for a fifth consecutive day. Around 14 heat-related deaths and almost 1,900 illnesses have been recorded since May. Authorities have expanded cooling shelters and warned against any outdoor activity. And this, not just what the effects on the crops and that everything. This really does have an effect on economic activity because people can't work because it's just too hot to bloody work, and that can ruin things for the economy of countries. The climate change, it affects everything, affects absolutely everything. You think of any kind of facet of human life that we worry about, we care about. Climate change makes everything demonstrably worse. Everything. So yeah, authorities have warned against outside activities, and baseball matches have been cancelled. Electricity demand is approaching record levels as people are, living in AC rooms trying to keep cool. Meanwhile, in Hungary, they've only got one nuclear power plant in Hungary, and they've had to close it because of the low water levels. Obviously, you need a lot of water to run through a nuclear power plant. That's how it works. Obviously, they use radioactive material to heat up water, which turns into steam. Steam drives the turbines. Yeah, they've had to close it. They've had to close it in Hungary, which is, on some levels it's just absolutely crazy. But this is the world. This is the world we have created by ignoring climate change for just far too long. So yeah, this particular plant supplies nearly half of Hungary's electricity. And Romania's also shut some nuclear reactors, which were normally cooled by the Danube. And reduced generation could continue for weeks to come. So the one thing that actually works when it's hot is solar panels. So the more solar panels you've got, the better you're going to be, because if it's too hot, it makes it very difficult for nuclear power stations to work. Obviously, if there's no wind, you're not getting the wind power from the wind turbines. But if you're getting loads of sun, that's good. But solar panels are less efficient when they get hot. You'll get more power from a cool sunny day in spring or autumn or even in winter than you will out of those panels in the height of summer when it's 40 degrees, because it reduces the efficiency. The heat reduces the efficiency. Was it Tony Wilson who drew up an important distinction between Manchester and Salford? By the way, been photographed outside Salford lads clubs looking suitably moody. I don't know, but Manchester and Salford's hilarious because it's like two cities like squished together, and everyone kind of forgets about Salford. Does Salford even have a? Does it even? It has a university. I don't know if it has a cathedral. Is there a Salford Cathedral? Have you seen Manchester Cathedral? Is that it? If you want a cathedral, we've got one to spare. Boom! That's a good. Ukrainian rescuers are now in France helping to contain the devastating wildfires. I'm quite moved by this. Ukraine has a lot on their plate, but they still go out their way to help. Yeah, Alexa. I mean, there is no. We can't. We could probably find someone from Ukraine who's a twat, and we can find someone from Russia who's lovely, and I'm sure that happens. I've got friends in Russia, and they're not bad people. But overall, if you want a black and white war, if you want to talk about a war between good and evil, so to speak, I mean, the war what's happening in Ukraine is the absolute epitome of that, as far as I'm concerned. It's a grubby little narco state, a little petro state, an autocracy, a nasty place to live, a miserable place to live, a cold, depressing place to live, ruled over with an iron bloody fist by the likes of Putin and his minions, and it's not a place where you can be yourself. LGBT rights are non-existent. You can be thrown in jail for being gay. It's just life is suffering there. Life is suffering, and Ukraine clearly wanted to break away from that mold, wanted to break away from the old Soviet Union and what that entailed. And then this is what's happened as a result. They've been invaded by the biggest biggest country in the world, because the biggest country in the world is clearly not big enough. Um, Manchester is part of Salford Roman Catholic Diocese. That's interesting. Try taking render off the side of the house in a heat wave, as I did about 10 years ago. No shelter either. It was horrific working under those conditions. Just made me anatomical issues that much worse. Oh, I'm sorry, man. That must be grim. Sorry, mate. Can some cis women email Bridget Phillipson and ask her what evidence she is taking to the Labour Women's Conference to prove she is a woman? I saw a video. It was really sad. It was a trans lad, and he was talking about, he was in the supermarket. He's in tears while he's telling the story, and he had to go into the women's toilets. And then he got confronted, and some fella said, "What are you doing going into the women's toilets?" It's like, this is the law now. I have to use the women's toilets because I was born a woman. Yeah. Fucking the amount of shit that's going to go off as a result of what Labour have done in this situation is off the charts. And it's crazy. It makes no moral sense. It makes no political sense. It makes no economic sense. It makes nonsense sense. Anyway, so Ireland has limited capability to patrol its large Atlantic marine territory, and so there's a bit of a Atlantic security gap there. The subsea cables passing through key area communications between Europe and North America, and with the Russian naval activity that's been increased in recent years, a concern about surveillance and possible sabotage, Ireland is basically worrying about what if their cables are taken out and they lose the internet, they lose all that. And don't forget, a lot of these companies, a lot of tech companies, are based in Ireland because they've got quite nice, tax loopholes for big companies and that. I get paid when I get my check off. Well, it's not a check, but when I get my money off Google each month for doing these, it comes from Google Ireland. Now imagine that cable's cut and they can't pay that out. They can't get it. That is a big worry. Now Ireland has allocated 1.7 billion euros for defence capital spending between 2026 and 2030, and they've increased their navy personnel by 12%. But that there is talk. Weirdly, I mean, there is talk about Ireland possibly joining NATO, which could happen because then at least they come under the NATO umbrella and they'll be protected. And that is crazy. Like, Ireland, famously not part of the Commonwealth, famously, didn't want anything to do with the Second World War. They were neutral in the Second World War, technically. And this would be huge if they joined it. It'd be like Switzerland joining NATO, And don't forget, Switzerland didn't join the UN until 2002, I think. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. I don't know why my keyboard isn't working. Why is my keyboard not working? Oh, there you go. Now it seems to be working. Is it working? What was I going to look? What year? Oh, it's all in caps. I'll have to delete it. Not that it makes any difference. What year did Switzerland join the UN? Sorry, did I say EU? I meant the UN. Yeah, 2002. March the 3rd, 2002. They had a vote, sorry, and on September the 10th, 2002, Switzerland finally joined the United Nations. So, like, Switzerland was the 191st country, I think, to join the UN. They were followed in 2007, I think, by Montenegro, which split off from Serbia. So up to then it was Serbia and Montenegro. They just had one seat for the two countries, but they split off and they got an extra seat. And then the 193rd member was South Sudan, which happened in the summer of 2011. I don't know if I've already told you this. I probably have, but I was planning to go to Bougainville next year. Travel overland down to Bougainville. I'm not going to be doing that now because Bougainville's not going to be independent until 2030. They're starting the process in 2027, but the actual full independence will not be declared until 2030. 30. So it gives me a few years to get prepped for the journey. But I will be 50 when making the journey. I'll be 50 years old when making the journey, which is going to be a bit crazy. I'll be 51, actually. I'll be 51. So I don't know if I'll find it as easy as I found traveling around when I was 29. Yeah, that's still the plan. But I was thinking next summer, I might try to do the Your Odyssey expedition again, which is every country in Europe in the least amount of time without flying. Now that I know that I don't need to go to Cyprus and to Turkey, I can draw up a new plan of how to get around. Quiz question from last night: when did women in Switzerland get the vote? 1972. Is that right? Have I got that right, Jeff True? Write in the chat if it was 1972. If it is, I win a big lollipop. Technically, there were Germans, Irish in Free State during World War II. They could just ban public toilets and then everyone could pee in the gutter. Actually, Catherine the Great was Russia's best leader. She was German. And they used to say really lewd things about her. They say that she died having sex with a horse. She didn't. It was just made up by people who hated her because she was a woman and German. Too early. Quiz question from last night. By number of vessels, Disney has the largest navy. Really? That's quite funny. Russian population aren't bad. They're just stuck in a country where the leadership is endlessly corrupt and indifferent to human life. When Gorbachev is their best leader, historically, that's sad. Yeah. Wasn't it all cantons at the same time? I don't know. Jeff, are you going to make me look up this date? I think it's 1972 that women got the vote in Switzerland. Are you going to make me look it? I can look it up if you want me to. I wasn't going to. 1990. Thought your answer would have got a tenner for being closest. It was 1990 that women were given the vote. Jesus, I thought it was 1972, and that was a bit late, wasn't it? Iceland, give women the right to vote. No. Okay. Right. So women in Switzerland gained the right to vote on February the 7th. No, there was a federal referendum. Let's get the dates right here. Federal referendum in February 7th, 1971, passed with 65.7% of men voting in favour to grant women federal suffrage. The first federal election in which Swiss women were allowed to participate was in 1971. It was in November the 31st, 1971, so it was very close. However, the federal Supreme Court forced the final reluctant canton, which was called Appenzell Innerrhoden, to grant women local voting rights. So some women weren't allowed to vote until November 1990 in Switzerland. Yeah. I love the way Switzerland has positioned itself as like, oh, we're the friendly country of friendly people. They fucking took all the Nazi gold and they kept it for themselves, and they knew what they would do, and they played both sides off against each other. They weren't part of the UN for years, but they were quite happy to have, UN meetings in Switzerland. They were quite happy to take all the Nazi gold and the Nazi paintings and all that kind of stuff. They were always playing both sides. And let's be realistic. A lot of the dictators and autocrats and monsters of the 20th century had Swiss bank accounts, famous Swiss bank accounts, because the government of Switzerland didn't ask what was in those bank accounts, where the money came from. It was just a place to put your money that no one else could have a look into. And that allowed people like Idi Amin and Pol Pot and Robert Mugabe and General Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi, to basically do what they did. And as I was discussing the other day when I was writing my book, the only reason why Gaddafi isn't still the leader of Libya today, had he not had a heart attack, or his sons, a Gaddafi, let's say, the only reason why a Gaddafi isn't now currently the leader of Libya, is because he moved all his money in 2010. He moved all his money from his Swiss bank accounts over to the Cayman Islands. And that was a huge mistake, because Britain has control over bank accounts in the Cayman Islands. We can freeze bank accounts in the Cayman Islands. We couldn't have done that if he'd left them in Switzerland. So like the Swiss don't forget FIFA. It's a Swiss organization, isn't it? Should we talk about FIFA? Should we talk about Fanny Infantino? Infantino, fucking Bambino, little baby, little infant. What a dickhead. What an absolute dickhead. Um, if you want to gain Swiss citizenship, the state asks your neighbours and the people in the district if you should get it. Some got denied because the neighbours didn't like him. That's actually quite a good plan. The more I see people being interviewed say that they love Farage, the more I think Farage is the new Jim Jones and reform is a cult. I hope they don't take the Kool-Aid. Yeah, me too. Okay. The carers are here for me, Dad. Hello. Could you close these? Oh, thanks. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Mum. Um, but yeah, so there might be some extra chatting and noise in the background on the microphone. Just mind that cable there. Thanks, Mum. Nice. Maybe we can put Dad behind the curtain. There you go. Cheers. It's actually brightened up in here now because I've got that extra fill light coming from this side. It's funny because the sun is actually on this side of me, but the fill light. Said it before. Infantino looks like an Eraserhead baby. It works better than you look. Eraser. I think he looks like a cross between the Eraserhead baby and Sloth from the Goonies and the guy from The Hills Have Eyes. Hey, you guys, Hills Have Eyes. If you want to gain Swiss citizenship, I've read that one. Said it before, read that one. So Orson Welles was wrong with his improvised cuckoo clock line. 500 years of peace, democracy, and brotherly love. And what do they create? The cuckoo clock. Great fucking line. Great line. Naturalising in Switzerland is very, very hard. Swiss passports only once lacking a place of birth. New citizens have canton got citizenship in passport. I don't really understand that, but there you go. Phil let me his light. Phil's lights only have two settings: it's light bulb or zombie. Goes to the undead. I've been round to Phil's. I was like, can I do something with your lighting setup? And he's like, no, I like it the way it is. And I'm like, okay, I'll leave you to it then. I did see Infantino being compared with the Hood from Thunderbirds. Yeah, that's another good call as well. So moving on to what the shit is going on elsewhere. We've got Malaysia. There's they're tightening their hiking rules after 52 cases of lost hikers during the first 5 months of 2026. Well, that was nearly 30% more than during the same period last year. Authorities blame social media challenges encouraging inexperienced people to climb multiple peaks up in the Cameron Highlands or whatever in Malaysia. Proposed measures include registration, compulsory guides, and penalties for irresponsible hikers. So the famous Mount Kinabalu is in Borneo. It's in Malaysian Borneo, so you're in Malaysia when you're climbing up that. And obviously there's tours going up it, and you take part as a tour, and you stay overnight in a place, so you climb up a bit higher, and then you come down a little bit, so you don't get altitude sickness. It's 4,000 meters above sea level. Don't have a beer when you get to the top. Top tip, even if it is your birthday, don't have a beer on the top. But yes, you got two problems here. You got, first of all, people doing daft challenges that they're not experienced enough to do, and they don't really know what they're doing. They're in a country where they don't speak the language, and they don't have any physical maps. And this is another problem, because people are setting off with their smartphone going, I'll be fine, I've got Google Maps. But you get halfway up a mountain, suddenly you lose signal and things go wrong, and you lose all your battery and stuff like that, and you're stuffed. Yeah, bring back physical maps, that's what I say. And meanwhile, New Zealand has given the language of English official status. This is crazy, okay? So English is already spoken by 95% of New Zealanders. I don't know why it needs to be given official status. Fun fact, English isn't even the official language of England. It's not the official language of the United States of America either. But apparently, this is something that some old racists in New Zealand have put together to upset the Maori, because the Maori don't want this. They're like, why are you doing this? Why are you protecting English? It's pointless. But what they wanted to do is to kind of like make it so Maori, which is a protected language, which is a statutory status within New Zealand, because it needs protecting, because it only exists in New Zealand, whereas English exists everywhere. It exists in a country called England, which is on the other side of the planet. It's okay, we'll look after it. We'll look after the language. You don't need to protect it by law. And it's just a weird thing. There's no reason why English needs legal protection like Maori or like New Zealand Sign Language, which is only used in New Zealand, which needs protecting because it's only in New Zealand. But the National Party, the New Zealand First Party, and even Labour in the Parliament supported the measure, and but the Greens and the Maori Party opposed it. And so this is really stupid. Why are you making English an official language? But there you go. So they just passed an official language act in New Zealand to say that English is now a language that's official. Cool. The one that everyone speaks officially. It's now an official language, and it needs to be protected like a newborn infant, a newborn foal in on the fields. I'm still catching up. Wildberries is supplying called up men with all the plate carriers and other equipment that Russia doesn't. It accounts for over leverage 3% of Russian economy approximately. Wow. Sign language is official. Yes, it is. Yeah, because it needs protecting. The reason why you make a language official is because it needs protecting. You can have special laws put in place, like Welsh in Wales and Scots Gaelic up in Scotland. Yeah, it needs to be protected because it's spoken by a minority, and if the majority had their way, no one would speak it anymore. So it needs protecting. We don't want to lose it, like we've lost the language of Cornish. No one speaks Cornish anymore. Meanwhile, there was another mass shooting in Idaho in America. Is this even news anymore? I don't know. It happens every day. 3 people were killed. Not that Americans care. It's not really going to bring any rules in stopping people having all the guns they want, all the guns and all the ammunition they want. And meanwhile, there's been some bird flu cases in South Australia. The first H5N1 deaths. 35 birds were found sick. Bird deaths. The virus has not been detected on poultry farms, but if it does get detected, that's a huge problem for those farms because they basically have to kill all the chickens, all of them, and not in a way that you can eat them afterwards. The current risk to humans remains low, but not impossible, because we know that flu likes to mutate, and that's why it's so difficult to actually get ahead of it. There's so many different variations of this disease. I'm now sadly third generation to be Welsh, but English first language speaker. I have no regrets voting for Jacinda, says Greg. That's fair enough. I thought she was a great leader, especially during COVID, where only about 7 New Zealanders died. Meanwhile, in the UK, about 150,000 people died. I know, but it's so different because we're in Ireland, and they're in Ireland, yeah. They actually closed their airports, something we didn't do. You couldn't leave your house, but you could fly in and out the country. Why do so many people need to look for scapegoats, threats, or enemies? Says Alexa. I don't know. There's some people like that. They encounter a new bit of information. The first thing they've got to do is look for the threats, and decide what a threat is. Talking of threats, should we go to the papers and have a look at the Daily Fail here? First up, the Daily Fail inside Project K. It says, it screams, the plot to get back the prize the only prize he ever really wanted, a knighthood. Okay. Simon Smith is saying, I was murdered several times a day when I lived in London. I know, yeah, it's a terrible murder place, filled with murder people. And we've got Burnham must scrap disastrous pro-union strike laws. We've got Afghan held for suitcase murder of Athens Brit. Pro-union strike laws. Tories tell PM to halt job killing changes. Andy Burnham must ditch Labour's hard left workers' rights reforms or risk sending Britain back to the 1970s, the Tories warned last night. Well, why is it that sometimes they want to go back to the 70s, like they take us out the EU, and sometimes they don't want us to go back to the 70s? I wish they'd make up their bleeding minds. But yeah, this is about the workers' rights that came in under Keir Starmer. Obviously, the rich want to get rid of them because they don't like the idea of workers having rights, and they're screaming, you got to stop them having rights, because if they have rights, they'll have more money to spend on things and have a better life. How dare they even think about that? Yeah. Anyway, so we'll go over to the Murdoch rag of the Times. We've got the which diets really work. I don't care. We've got power plants with meters fitted backwards cost us 100 million a year. We've got Britain's son to chill out on holiday. So people going on holiday to get away from the heat. And there's a cricket match there. You can see how brown and parched the land is. That's because of climate change. Toll of schooling. Straitjacket Education Secretary says one size fits all academic approach led to a million youngsters not being in training or work. Yes. Yes, she's right. That's exactly what happened, but that's exactly what was meant to happen, you know? Keep people in their place by making sure that they're completely dependent on the state to look after them and keep them alive, and then you got them in the palm of your hands. Don't fight back, or we'll take those things away. We'll take your nice things away, like the ability to stay alive. Why hot weather is harder for women? Because they have more body fat, I guess. Energy bill help with plan for families on benefits. This is good. Josh Kerr sets sights on a record. 2/3 back wealth tax on assets worth more than £10 million. Voters overwhelmingly back a wealth tax, with just 10% opposed. I wonder what 10% that is. And support coming from across the political spectrum. A wealth tax on assets, but it's got to be on assets. It's got to be stuff that can't move. It can't just be money, because they'll just move it using PayPal or whatever somewhere else. We've got how to avoid exercise injuries here on the front cover of the the Guardian, which I think is quite funny because sorry, that's not set up right. How to avoid exercise injuries. I've got a top tip for you, right? I'm going to share this with you now. Top bit of advice. Here's how to avoid exercise injuries. Don't do any exercise. Boom. There you go. You can have that for free. Although we get a couple more super chats and I can release the bin Feffy. I'm just saying. We've only got a couple more weeks of this by-election, so irresistible. Robert E. Grant's Very Modern Odyssey. We've got UK facing food shortages due to drought, says farmers. Yep. Dash to Theuta. Moroccan police were shouting, "Go, run to Spain." My biceps have a fan club. No, NHS Trust plans to cut 330 mental health jobs. I mentioned that in my overview of the news today. I read the news today. Oh boy. And then we've got the bare essentials of boudoir chic. All right. And then we've got PM vows relentless action on migrants as reform backs plans blockade. Police warn early release will force patrol cuts. Hungary faces blackout as drought drains Danube to lowest level. I mentioned that the what are those things called? The nuclear power station getting shut down. High protein diet may shorten your life. That doesn't surprise me. Lowe offers Farage pack to unite the right, which is Rupert Lowe. Should have mentioned this, earlier. He's apparently wants to team up with Farage. He's offered the olive branch. He says, "You want to team up and smash the left?" So yeah, these fuckers, the right wing, that it's such a grift for them. They make so much money off the billionaires who can't be asked going into politics themselves. It's having to meet the plebs. So they have these little familiars who, like Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage and Richard Tice, these multimillionaires who were born multimillionaires and then became slightly richer multimillionaires. They have these little familiars who go out and do their bidding because they don't want to have to mix with the hoi polloi themselves. They don't want to get into politics themselves. They want someone else to do all that shit. They just want to take ketamine and just be scumbags. UK faces recession if Iran war drags on. Great news from the Trumps supporting Telegraph here. And then we've got UEFA threatens to sue Infantino over sell-off, which is hilarious, but there you go. And on that, we've got the Daily Star here saying he's ducked. Time is up for Fanny Infantino. FA boss is a dead duck. He's a dead duck, and they're from Greg's. You can get a dead duck in a pasty. That's very nice. And then we've got the Metro here, the third wave. We've also got tanks for nothing. Iran war is fueling a crime epidemic. Soaring prices at pump see thieves flee forecourts with £200,000 of petrol and diesel every day. That's a crazy story. Every single day, people are making off with fuel because it's too expensive. Hey, when we have electric cars, it's going to be fine. No one's ever going to rob your electricity. Oh no, they can. Here's the thing, right? Electric cars, you're going to see people, and this is happening already in New Delhi, in India. People are breaking into each other's houses, plugging in an extension cable and running it to the car, or running it to their tuk-tuk, their auto rickshaw, their auto rick. But yeah, they're plugging in their batteries in other people's, just a really long extension cable, which is freaking hilarious, however you cut it. And I like to cut it like this. Yeah. We've also got the Daily Express screaming about 1,500 foreign criminals in houses paid by you, which probably is something that isn't really actually true, or they're trying to make out that it's something that it's not, but, you know, whatever. Making money out of the death of Diana is not a good idea, Harry. Why is he making money out of it? Fuck off. At least 1,500 foreign crooks have been given free homes instead of being deported. Taxpayers are footing the bill to have criminals living in their community. An Express investigation, blah, 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 blah. I bet this turns out to be like a Tory policy that's been in place for ages. My fears for Phil Collins. I watched this Vauxhall Down Wine at 11 a.m. and knew it wasn't right. We've got Harry, Dad, let the world see us together. This is for his hopes for a Charles Harry reunion next year. I couldn't give less of a flying fuck through a rolling donut. But here we go. Ceuta crisis. Migrant death toll mounts. People died crossing over into Ceuta. And then we've got US companies book rock solid profits despite consumer struggle with costs. We've got foreign bidders chase after UK groups with bear hug offers they can't refuse. And new Ofcom chair vows to bring Watchdog up to date. Okay, cool. Cool. Do you think he's actually going to do that? I don't think he is. Anyway, that's the roundup of the papers. Hope you enjoyed that. We've got 3 out of the 5 super chats that we need in order to trigger the confetti cannon. We've only got about 5 minutes left of the show, so if anyone wants to drop in a super chat this morning, you're very welcome to do so, and it will mean that we get to make Diz very happy. Is Diz in the chat? Is Diz there? Diz, are you about? Diz is there. Hi, Diz. She says Switzerland is a beautiful, but it's an odd place. It is. Sorry for dissing Switzerland there. I mean, I have no problem with Switzerland. I think it's a wonderful place. I like it, but it's just any country that presents that it's, you know, this moral arbiter, you know, this beautiful place where nothing bad ever happens. Then you look under the bonnet and you're like, oh my God, really? Switzerland, you could argue, is responsible for more human rights violations of the 20th century than any other country in the world, which is saying something. But it's because they allowed despots to put money in their bank accounts in Switzerland and not look at where the money was coming from. And they had all these vaults full of Nazi gold and stolen Nazi paintings. It was, I think it was in the 90s. Was it in the 90s when there was a night security guard in one of these banks in Switzerland who started going, he was bored. This is what boredom does to people. He was just bored and he started looking through the books for these Swiss companies, and it was just mind-blowing. It was the amount of Nazi gold that they had. And it was stolen Nazi gold, stolen from Jews, and he put it all together and blew it all out the water. Remember, there was that huge court case where these banks had to pay the survivors of the Holocaust and their families millions and millions of dollars for the money that they had stolen, that they knew they had stolen. It had all been recorded. It's not like they just woke up one morning and there was loads of money in the vaults and they're like, oh, I don't know where this came from. Loads of gold. Stolen Nazi gold. Elon, the kind of fucked over the West in the end. He started making super expensive luxury cars while promising to make affordable ones, and not China has surpassed us making completely making affordable ones. Yeah, BYD. Everyone's going to be driving BYDs in the next few years. Ernie Burns. Problem is, a lot of people mistake petty threats for serious threats. Yes, I like the way you've written that as well. Ernie always has a wonderful way with words. Sarah says, I used to go caravanning when I was a kid. My brother went to make a Breville and blew the electric hook up to the point so my dad had a load of cables. It went into the next field, the only one with power. Yeah, don't take your Breville on holiday with you. Don't take your hair curlers. You gotta blow it. You gotta blow the bloody doors off. Right, talking of blowing the bloody doors off, Ryan, spooky thing, and Cathal, thank you so much for the super chats, all in a row, and it gives me the great pleasure to say thank you very much and to release the Bin Feppy. The Bin Feppy! We got the Bin Feffy. Woo! Bin Feffy. It's going crazy with the Bin Feffy. Nice. So thank you very much. Thanks for that, everyone. Okay, right. I'm going to get off now. We're just coming up to 1.5 hours of the show. Okay, so tonight, really excited because I'm going out to go and see the new Odyssey film, and it's going to be in IMAX, and it's going to be the first ever IMAX film that Kat's ever seen in her life, because there's never been IMAX films with subtitles before at the cinema, and we get these crazy glasses apparently that you can see subtitles come up on the glasses. So I have to wear the glasses over my glasses, which apparently you can do, and hopefully it'll be fun, even if the film's not as amazing as some people are making out. It'll be fun. In the meantime, I will recommend the new Spider-Man film. It's a lot of fun, and it feels a lot more real than the previous ones, because we were sort of catching up, and we watched No Way Home the other day, and there's a bit where they're up at the top of the Statue of Liberty. They're on the the little torch bit of the Statue of Liberty, and it's so obviously green screen. There's no wind. There's no fucking wind. There's some guy there with like perfectly coiffed hair, and I'm like, where's the wind? It'll be windy as fuck up there. Middle of the night, they're having a battle, and there's no wind. There's no, and Spider-Man's suit was always like Iron Man Jr. It was all like made of nanobots or something. They've gone away from that. He's just wearing a onesie now, which is what he should be wearing. Careful they don't give you the Hoffman lenses, because with those you'll see the Hoffman lens. The Hoffman. Don't give me the Hoffman lenses. Is that the They Live? Is that They Live? My favorite bit of They Live is there's this fight scene that goes on for about 10 fucking minutes and it's the main guy, Roddy Piper or whoever it is, and he's fighting this black guy, and they're fighting in this alleyway, and the fight just goes on and on and on, and all he's trying to do is get the other guy to put these glasses on. He's like, put these glasses on. He's like, no. He's like, no, put them on. He hits him again. He's like, no, I want you to wear these glasses. He's like smashing his head into a dustbin, and he's going, no, I'm not gonna wear those glasses. He's like, you will. I'm gonna make you wear this. It's a very strange scene, but yeah, No Way Home is still a fucking good film. Yes, it was, but I like the new one, that it feels a little less cutscenes from a video game. It feels a bit more grounded, and one of the criticisms I have about VFX, it's not that the VFX shouldn't exist. I don't mind doing stuff on green screens, but if you are going to do stuff on green screens, you need to put physical things there to allow not just the actors to react, because most of acting is reacting, but also to make us feel like they're actually in that place that they're supposed to be in. And if you're in a studio and it's just like some backdrops that's been projected onto the back of you, which show like you up the Eiffel Tower or something, but there's no wind, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't think that's how it looks. Throw a bit of grit in their face. My eyes, my beautiful eyes. That's what you want to do. Anyway, right. So we've gone over an hour and a half now. So thank you so much for watching. There won't be a stateside tonight because I'm going out to watch a movie. But with my beloved. But I will be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock for the next morning brew. And I'm all set up now. So I don't have to worry about being too late. Maybe 9:15. I don't know. But do us a favor, right? Give us a like before you go. We always like a like on this channel. But if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed, if you're watching this on catch up. And if you are subscribed, please hit that bell notification icon in case I put something up like the post I put up this morning saying that I wasn't going to get started until 10 o'clock. And then when I actually set things up, I put that I was going to start at 10:15 because I realised I wasn't going to be ready for 10 o'clock. And then I actually started at 10:20. And you wouldn't have known all that if you hadn't been me, I guess. Or hit the bell notification icon. Get notified. Okay, thanks very much for watching. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Oh, that didn't work. Hang on. Hello. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing... There you go. Bye, everyone.